Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is finding it challenging to date, which is like so many people.
All of us. It's all of us.
Absolutely. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we're not professionals. We are not trained in any of this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, so today's check-in topic, because it's Monday and we start every week with a check-in topic, is a fan favorite that we haven't done in a minute. I'm going to do an Instagram meme review. If this is your first time around, after being in the relationship help world for a minute, I started noticing that Instagram relationship advice is volatile. No, it's just so inconsistent. It's like one meme, it'll be like something really good, and the other one will be like, oh my God, I can't believe this has 30,000 likes. You know what I mean?
It's all bots, though. It's all bots.
Yeah. So recently, or like, I don't know, a couple years ago, Sam and I started reviewing some of these more chaotic memes. So I'm bringing that back today, but we're doing it a little bit differently. I specifically searched dating advice and relationship advice for men. That's what I put. That's what I put in my.
This is not going to be good.
In the search bar on Instagram, and it got ugly real fast. Okay,
I'm sure it did.
So we're gonna start out with a meme or a quote from Alpha Mind Laws is the account.
I'm triggered.
It's going to get worse from here, just so you know. And this person says, this is quoting somebody that's at Masculine Minds. The less comfort you seek in her, the more attracted you will be to her. I'm laughing, but truly, this whole experience made me really sad.
Yeah, this is
honest, made me wish that our gender demographics were a little bit more balanced than they are in our listenerships, because I just feel like we screw men over a lot, like more than we actually think that we do, because we really limit their experience to saying, like, this is arguing that, like, if you seek comfort from your partner, you're going to be less attracted to her. Like, you have to be like a stone cold, emotionless meat machine. And then you're going to find your girlfriend hot.
Yep. Yeah. If you show too much vulnerability with the person that you are interested in, then she will no longer be attracted to you. I love that the idea there is that, like, that's good advice, and not to, like, examine the underpinnings of why that is.
Like, why, mommy issues. That's
why would you be less attracted to somebody that you confide emotionally in? Oh, maybe because you are deathly afraid of vulnerability? I don't know. Maybe that's a thing you could work on.
Okay. I don't know what
that.
I don't know what is funnier of this next one, the actual quote itself or the handle it comes from, which is Morpheus Power, which is just a very particular demographic to me. Brings me right back to, well, when did The Matrix come out? Like the late 90s?
I think 1999 is Yeah.
All right.
It's also like, this is a red pill account then.
Oh, I'm reading this in Janko Jeans just right now, just so you know.
Okay, great.
This says,
we're on the dark side of the internet.
A man's revenge is moving on. A woman's revenge is sleeping with another guy. Start leveling up.
What does that even mean? What does that mean? What am I supposed to do with that?
I don't know. I think it's, let me see. I think it's sexism. If I'm doing my math correctly, let me tabulate this. And I think it's slut shaming.
I think so,
and sex
absolutely.
Shaming. And yeah, so like I don't know, you don't
So is
it
the advice then to
trivializes-
start
I don't know.
sleeping with other women? Is that the level up we're supposed
No,
to
I
be
think
doing?
it's saying like women making autonomous choices over their body after they choose to not be in relationship with you is a lower level of moving on than I don't
Got
know.
it. So you
Blending
shouldn't
up
be
raw meat and protein powder. I'm I'm making broad,
So it's
broad
like-
stroke assumptions here.
It's like don't be a woman and sleep with a woman.
Yeah.
Be a man and just move on.
It's
Is
just going
that-
to get better. Here's the next
I'm
one.
confused. I don't understand.
This is from the Come On Man podcast.
Oh God, should we do a cross collab?
Okay, so you tell me after I read this piece of advice. Your girl needs to refrain from communicating with,
Nope, we're done. It's already done. It's already done.
former dudes she used to fuck, men who expressed interest in her, men who previously showed attraction, and men she once found appealing. This isn't about being controlling.
Oh,
It's
isn't
about
it?
having boundaries and self-respect.
Oh, there it is. Is this run by Jonah Hill? Is that the thing? Yeah, I mean, I knew from the first words around who your woman can and can't be talking to, as if that is anything that you have any say or control over,
Well,
that this is
and-
going to be a terrible meme.
Yeah, and to to expand it, beyond the gender binary, like I think that on this podcast we answer plenty of letters from people of any gender identity about them feeling like they are being threatened by somebody, by their partners liking people's Instagrams or talking to people who are, I don't know, deemed attractive or have a body. This is something we all work through. I think there's like an extra level of spiciness because of the power dynamics in traditionally heteronormative relationships and like, I don't know how we've treated men and women for the rest of time or for the
Yeah,
last
for sure.
thousands of years, I love this because of how fucking ridiculous it is. And I also love it for like you mentioned the Jonah Hill thing, like the therapy speak,
Yep.
being like, you can't talk to a person that you used to find attractive.
That's it.
Are you
Used to
kidding
find
me?
appealing is the not even attractive, like appealing.
Yeah, appealing. You're right.
Like, okay.
You mean like that coworker that I used to like that I enjoy like
Yeah,
conversation
getting
with?
happy hour with. Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you imagine
Off
like going
limits.
up to your coworker and being like, I'm sorry, man, like I need to respect my partner and their boundaries and I can't talk to you about your weekend anymore. Like, don't tell me about that football game you went to. I'm disrespecting my partner.
And also, like, if that's a boundary for you, great. Break up with me.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like, the idea that it's like, it's not controlling, that's a boundary is like, no, because like boundaries are you deciding what you want to do with the information that you have. And if you don't want your partner
Yeah.
to talk to anyone who they ever found attractive once in their life, then like, good on you. Good luck finding a partner. But
Yeah.
like, the idea that you get to decide that for them, that's the controlling part of it, which is like, you're wrong, meme. You're wrong. Come on, bro, podcast or whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to conclude with I shit you not. The most chaotic meme I saw, and it was the first one that came up.
Okay, great.
This is at the top of the page, okay? And this is from the GOV. This is the most vulgar thing I'm ever going to say on the pod. Ready? It says, the way a girl feels about your cum, spelled with a U, will tell you how she feels about you. And then the caption says, does she beg for it or does she get all grossed out if it touches her?
This is mortifying. I cannot believe that we're reading this on this podcast.
Yeah.
I feel
No,
like
I
the
literally was
sanctity
like,
of this
this is
podcast
the
has been
first-
violated by this meme.
This is the first. It is 100%. It is the first thing that came up. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I feel so bad for men.
I feel bad for women.
No, I know. Okay,
first of all, cum is gross. Like, I don't.
Hey, man. I mean,
which I guess means that men are gross. So like that.
And
I guess
this is such
that's
a fallacy too, because like. Because of the way we deal with sexuality and sex in our life, like I bet you fucking $50,000 that this person, their account, I'm not going to go on it because I don't want it showing up in my algorithm. I bet you $50,000 dollars. I bet you $50,000 that this person has a meme or a post somewhere later in their feed that talks about like women who quote give it away too easily or like or too eager to have sex are of lesser value or whatever, because we can't seem to decide how the fuck we want people to deal with their own sexualities and how much we want to, demonize them for it. Anyway, so men out there, hey, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for scrolling past this first meme that I found. And I do want to add, like, I had to weed through things to find this. It was probably like every other or every two things.
Sure.
There's good relationship advice out there. There's great dating advice.
Yep.
I just think the stuff that's intentionally targeted towards the gender binary obviously is going to reflect some of those more limiting gender beliefs about, stereotypes and about the way men and women are supposed to fucking exist, So
yeah, absolutely.
It was like hard out. It was hard out there. It was scary. It was a dark place to be, but there was good things out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for sure, I think that there are a lot of really fantastic men who are having really important conversations about masculinity and the things they've been socialized and taught around. And that's out there too. So like,
yeah.
And then there's also some very toxic advice out there. Let me tell you from that.
You can pretty much decide by the user handle because it was like
100%.
It was always like alpha bros, alpha man, divine masculine energy. You know what I mean?
Ooh, keep that away from me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone's divine masculine energy anywhere near me.
Anyway. So you ready to dive into a letter?
Let's do it. I feel like I need to like put my feet on the ground and like take a deep breath to like get that out of my system. Like, how do I not hold on to any of that just passed through my body?
I do remember really hurting my first boyfriend's feelings when I was like, your cum is disgusting. Like, it doesn't taste good. And he was like really hurt about it. And I was like,
it's not his specifically.
I'm sorry. I felt, no. And I'm sure I could have done it in like a more graceful way. I think I like spit it out and was like, gross.
Well, if that was your first time experiencing it, what were you supposed to do?
Yeah.
I get that. It is gross though. I don't want it near me. Anyway, let's get into today's letter.
Hey, no yucking each other's yums.
No, if you're really into it.
Yums. If you love it,
great.
Go at
I love
it.
that. I wish I loved it. Like I really wish I did, but I just don't.
All right. Okay.
All right,
dive into today's letter.
Oh, that's right. You read it.
Mm-hmm. It is from Junebug, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from 500 Days of Summer. Dear Sam and Sierra, I appreciate your humble musings on my dilemma. It's not a specific problem, more a general qualm, so buckle up. I'm a 21-year-old cis female university student. I also have a semi-anxious attachment style, meaning I often feel my attachment style activated, but I never engage in any sort of protest behavior. Yes, I've read the book. I guess my problem is I find it challenging to date. I feel like this is wrong of me to think. I often feel as though I operate in a different emotional sphere than a lot of my peers. I feel like Sierra in the fact that I like to go deep with people, not always in a heavy way, but I want to talk about my dreams, beliefs, and pasts, as well as intellectual discussions with those I am in relationship with. it's a hard level to get with. It's a hard level to get to with a lot of people, and I understand this, but I have many wonderful friends here who do fulfill me in this way. I'll give you the spark notes of my past year of romances. January 2023, I was seeing a nice guy who was good to me, but made me feel very little. He couldn't offer me the intimacy I craved, and I know this whole letter sounds a bit stuck up, but he wasn't my intellectual equal. We had very little in common. February 2023, I met and fell for my library crush. She was everything I ever dreamed of in a man. Our conversations were amazing, but he was just getting out of a relationship, so we were just friends, and it broke my heart. 2023, June, I started seeing a nice enough guy, but I felt stressed by the obligation of being with him and ended it. October 2023, met an older guy online. Because of the circumstances, we waited a month to meet. He was really interesting, and I started to like him, but in that month, he love bombed and then ghosted me. November 2023, I met a friend of a friend at a party. We talked until 6 a.m., and it was amazing, only for him to tell me that he only wanted to be friends and then to get back with his ex. January 2024, started seeing a nice guy who I knew vaguely from camp as a kid. After our first date, I knew he was a little bit of a space cadet, but he was generally so sweet and treats me very well, but again, made me feel very little. March 2024, my longtime crush and I started having lovely conversations on long walks, which made me feel so excited, only for him to tell me that he's not looking for anything romantic. I feel as though I'm stuck in this pattern of basically falling for someone very quickly who I feel stimulates me in the way I desire, only for them to turn around and tell me that we should just be friends or they're not ready. Then I start dating a nice guy, but that emotional depth is missing and I end up hurting him. This pattern has been going on for over a year and has repeated multiple times. How do I end this cycle? Will there be a time? Will there come a time when finally one of the men who I connect with on a deeper level actually likes me too? It all just feels so impossible. I do try to give all of the nice guys a chance, but it feels as though I'm waiting for someone that I know will never arrive. Should I just leave as soon as I have the gut feeling about people? Is this my attachment style, falling for unavailable people? I do have to say, though, that the guys I refer to as the ones I've fallen for have almost always been very kind and upfront about not wanting to date. They've all treated me with respect I deserve. I sometimes just lack the self-respect to cut things off because I do want to preserve the connection, even if it is a friendship, but that's on me, not them. And because of this, I don't think it's just me falling for the anxious avoidant trap. In theory, I do understand that a lot of why the guys I like don't want to be with me has less to do with me than I tend to internalize. Everyone is on their own journey, blah, 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 blah. But my heart has trouble believing that I'm not doing something wrong, that I'm destined to be the friend of a man whom I truly want to be with, and I have to settle for someone nice but boring. Any advice to help me navigate this dynamic would be much appreciated. P.S. I love that you guys are in my ear while I cook and eat most of my meals. You've helped me reflect and heal, and for that, I'm truly grateful. Junebug.
All right, Junebug. Thank you so much for writing to us. Dating is so hard. It is like
dating at 21.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
21.
It's just I think especially, I remember in my early 20s that it was just like a string of like potential loves that were like coming into my life and then like burning out immediately. Just like, and at that point I hadn't really dated a lot of people. And so I didn't know like what dating even felt like, right? So I was like searching for a feeling that I didn't even know how to identify, because it was like, what is this supposed to be? And what is this supposed to look like? And how am I supposed to do it? And I remember just being similarly unmoored, right? And I remember like even into my mid-20s too, like having all of these different sort of avenues that I could go down and having those avenues blocked, or finding somebody and being like, I'm really into you, and then they tell me they just want to be friends, or all of these different things. And it's just like, it's so challenging, right? There's nothing that is easy about dating, and I'm reminded of that episode of Sex and the City, which I love to talk about on the show, where Charlotte is like, where is he? I've been dating since 15. Where is he? Right? I'm tired of this. And I think I think that that's so real because like dating is work, and putting yourself out there emotionally and getting excited, is hard on our bodies and our hearts and our heads. So I deeply feel for you in this moment of being like, what's going on? Why isn't this working? Will this ever pan out? That's a really hard place to be. Sierra and I are going to talk a little bit about maybe like breaking up some of the storytelling that you're doing around what this means about you or what this means about your future dating, and to also just give you some love and reassurance around what it looks like to be dating in your 20s. But before you do that, we're going to take a little break.
All right, welcome back, my darlings, and thank you to Junebug for trusting us with this letter. I think Sam said what I initially wanted to say well enough that I'm not gonna really repeat it.
Oh, great. I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Sierra's not gonna just like reframe the beautiful things?
It's okay.
Sam
That's what we
says?
do with each other. We both do it. It's fine.
And I'm gonna just jump into a couple perspective shifts or reframes that I want you to consider that might help ease your worried heart. Sam's right. There are a lot of stories that you're telling yourself. You're telling yourself that you're never going to meet someone and that you're always going to be in this loop, that you're always going to find someone you really like and they're not going to be available. You know what? You could find like the love of your life and they might be married. Like that could happen. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it likely? No, it's not likely. You're telling yourself that this is a pattern. You're telling yourself that this is a karmic loop that you're stuck in, right? That this is just the way it's a pattern, which means it existed before this moment and it's going to exist after. And you're telling yourself that the connection you feel to those people that you say you are, quote, connected to is like one that can be trusted. And I'm not going to say it can't be trusted, but I want to get into that a little bit. So in that order, I think I already said that my point enough is that like, I think that you're catastrophizing your potential future dating, a little bit. It's so funny how easily we go from, wow, I'm not having a lot of dating luck to I am destined to be alone. Like that is the jump that we make.
Yeah.
And it's an understandable one and totally irrational, And I also, the other disruption I want to offer is you think this is a pattern, but it's not. I do this all the time. I think that there's some karmic checklist out there that's tallying all the good things I deserve and the bad things I deserve. And I think when something bad happens to me, the first thing I think is, of course this happened. Of course, because there's a pattern here. There's a trackable occurrence here, not the random insensitivity of the universe, right? The reframe I really want you to take from this episode is this isn't a pattern. I'm just seeing a pattern. I'm recognizing similarities. But like I said before, the assumption that there's a pattern means it goes on before and it goes on after. That's not true. That's your anxiety trying to seek things to cling to. There's not a pattern here. It's just life and it's chaos. The last thought disruption or reframing that I want to offer is this idea about connection. Because like you said in your letter, I absolutely know what you mean by craving deepness with people. I get bored in superficial relationships really easily. Bored is the wrong word. I don't feel fulfilled by them. How about that? I don't feel connected, right? I don't feel seen, and therefore I don't feel like that relationship doesn't hold a lot of weight in my life. But as I've gotten older, I've learned two different things. First, I've learned that I don't have the bandwidth to have exclusively deep relationships. I've learned that relationships that meet me where I'm at or can make me feel just superficially seen for a coffee shop date, that make me feel more connected to the world, even if they don't like know about my childhood trauma. I've learned that those relationships, those type of people in my life have value too. So I've worked really hard to take the hierarchy away from the types of relationships in my life, and that all of them serve a purpose. And the second thing I've really realized is that, especially when I was younger, that immediate, deep, passionate connection that I would find and seek and compare all other relationships to, I learned that intensity so soon was often a red flag, or
Sure.
more importantly, was often unsustainable.
Yeah.
Like that it wasn't like you've seen, that it didn't last, you know? And so instead of using that as the barometer for, quote, connection, I used consistency. I used presence. I used how they made me feel for a month versus how they made me feel for one, like, alcohol-induced talking until sunrise. Do you know what I mean? It is not to say that intuition doesn't matter. It's not to say that those connections are false inherently. But the reframing I want to offer to you, or like the idea that I want to pose, is you keep using the word connection. And I just want to make sure that, or like, I want to challenge you to find a different word. Spark, immediate interest, initial excitement, because a connection is something that stays together. Right? A connection is reciprocal. A connection is hard earned, and it's hard broken, right? So shifting that idea, then maybe that will help flip your understanding about the lack of connection you feel with those other people.
Yeah. I love that. I also think that, like, you're doing a lot of time traveling in this particular moment, right? You are looking to the past, where you're looking at all of these loves or these sort of conversations, situations you've had, and seeing a pattern in it, right? Like you're very focused on what has happened over the course of the last year and few months, right? And then you're also time traveling to the future, where you're like, here's what my life will look like, right? It will be in this monogamous partnership with a person who loves and fulfills me and excites me and all of these different things.
And who
like,
is my intellectual equal.
100%. Like, this is what it's going to look like. And then what happens when we do that sort of time traveling is that we forget about what's happening in the moment, in the present, right? And so instead of sort of looking at some of these different, conversations or connections that you're building with people and saying like, is this working? Is this right for me in this moment? Right? You're looking back and saying like, oh, is this part of a pattern that I have exhibited before? Or looking forward and saying like, is this the person that's going to be my person for forever? And that's a really hard thing for us to be able to do in a present moment. Right. And I think, you're talking about like trusting your gut, right? Like, I've got a gut feeling about people. And I think a lot of the times we mistake intuition for like being able to predict the future, right? Like, my intuition should be able to tell me if this person is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, right? If this person is like a good person who I should be with. And I think actually intuition it requires us to be in the present so that we're paying attention to what's going on for us now in this moment, rather than teleporting ourselves to some sort of future and expecting our intuition to be able to predict what's going to happen. So my encouragement for you is, as you're thinking about like this process of dating, what does it look like for you to, instead of judging yourself by like the outcome of the process, right? Like, what is happening? Did I get the thing I was looking for, which is, a relationship with a man? but instead look at the process and saying like, how is this process going for me? Right? Like, how does it feel to be in this dating process right now? Do I need more of it? Do I need less of it? Do I need to try something different for myself to make it feel better for me? Can I think about the people that I'm going on dates with as interesting, funny people who are people as opposed to just potential mates for me, right? Like, and enjoy the act of actually getting to know a person or being able to understand them or having an experience with them. Because I think dating is really hard, and it's even harder if we are trying to judge our dating capacity on our success in finding the one person that's meant for us, right? Like, because we're going to be constantly failing until suddenly we're not anymore, right? And who knows if that even is going to happen, right? Like, we might be constantly failing all the time. So how do we change what the marker of success in dating is for ourselves to, instead of being like, great, I found the one, because that will apparently only happen once, but to say like, am I being successful in doing this process in a way that feels good for me, that feels like it's sustainable, in a way that feels like I am in the present moment with the people that I'm dating, as opposed to trying to predict what they're going to be like 5 years from now? And I say that not because I'm like, get over it, right? Like, because I know that you want a partner, and I think that's really understandable, and I totally get it. And I think that this is the process that helps get us there. But I also just want to like relieve you of the burden that you're placing yourself with, which is to like be able to understand the past, present, and future all at the same time. And instead say like, what does the present look like for you? How can you live in that moment, as opposed to trying to hold yourself accountable for things that you've done before / things that are going to happen in the future? Because that's a lot of burden to put on yourself. And that can be really challenging to make dating in any way enjoyable if our only marker of success is, did this person date me for long enough? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really profound. I'm also sitting here thinking like, I have had such a tumultuous relationship with labels that prescribe, a definition to my human identity, my sexuality or my desire or whatever. But I also there have been times in which labels and the parameters and the language that they give you helps like shepherd your experience a little bit. And this might be an opportunity to think about labels like that. Like, I think you could argue that you, my dear letter writer, might be sapiosexual if, like, you're attracted to intelligence. There's nothing better to you than engaging in complex and stimulating conversations. Maybe that's not totally right, because that's very much about book sparts from my understanding to it. But like, here's an opportunity to do some Googling and figure out, well, what are the parameters of my desire? What turns me on? What makes me feel, quote, connected? What makes me feel interested in someone? And then start using that experience and language and parameters and whatnot to hone your dating experience. Like, if you know you want to have a, quote, deep conversation with someone, then maybe don't base your dating experience around looks, or make sure that the dates that you go on are, set up to prompt conversation. You know what I mean? I am not brainstorming right now in this live recording moment what that could be, but I'm trying to think about the times in my life in which a new revelation, such as a label or a new perspective shift or whatever, has prompted me to make small choices to change my relationship to the world around me, And I'm wondering if you can think, okay, if you recognize about yourself, like, I want this deep connection, and you're not finding it, well, then maybe like you can go onto your dating apps or whatever, however you're meeting people. And instead of, like, for me, I think I grew up dating with appearance in mind first. Like, oh, am I attracted to you? That was like the first threshold they needed to cross. So, but maybe that's not as important. Maybe you can shift that towards the back because you want to know that you can have a conversation. So, okay, the people that you're dating, Can they hold a conversation in your dating apps? Can they hold a conversation when you're talking to them over a drink or whatever? And that's the first threshold they need to cross before you're interested in them, you know? I know that's a little antithetical from what Sam just said, but it's what I had queued up.
No, I think it's connected because, again, then you're spending more time thinking about being present with the people that you're interacting with rather than trying to figure out and discern whether they're the perfect person for you, right? Or like use your gut feeling, right? Like you're actually using tools to say like, cool, how connected are we? Well, how are we feeling about each other? Like that kind of stuff I think is really helpful in kind of disrupting the challenges that we put on ourselves when it comes to dating because of the expectations that we have to like find the perfect person and never repeat the same mistakes over again. Like dating is just so hard without also placing this additional expectation on ourselves to like figure out everything and do it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like what does it look like to just be in the messy middle?
If I could like, you know, articulate something that I'm getting from this letter that was unarticulated is this very common millennial and Gen Z instinct to diagnose ourselves and to self-analyze to a fault where it's like, oh my God, these things are happening in my life and there has to be a pattern. There has to be a reason. I'm going to dive so deeply into myself to find out what am I doing to create this disparity in my life or this whatever. And I think that's noble. I think that has led Sam and I in our own journeys a ton of like the act of better understanding ourselves and holding ourselves accountable to our own behavior patterns. And also we can prognose ourselves into oblivion, into overthinking when we assume that there is always a reason for something, or there's always something that we're doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. You're showing up. You're exploring yourself through these people and through your solo time. And you're going to continue that journey, hopefully for a long time. And the universe and the people you date are going to continually surprise you. They're going to continually throw a wrench in your assumptions over yourself and other people. And that is a part of the process.
Yep, absolutely. All right, my love, thank you so much for writing to us. We know that this advice was kind of all over the place, but you knew who you were writing to, so I'm not going to apologize for it.
I know who I married.
Exactly.
That's what I think of every time Willow says, why is this messy? You know who you married. That's a Hamilton thing. All right, anyway.
In any case, we hope that this helps.
We love ya.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to those office hours, which are super fun. So check that out, patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember, you are in the exact right place right now, even in the struggle, even in the discomfort, even in the chaos and the unfairness of life. This is where you're meant to be. And the thoughts you're having about your life, the thoughts about what you want to change and what you want to do differently and what you want to see in yourself and others are here for a reason, and you can use them to motivate change. But where you are right now is where you're meant to be. And if all else fails,
just break up.